Hi guys, we're coming on live. It's been a while since we came on live. I have Rudy all under the lights. As you can see, it's all bright. It's reflecting from his glasses.
You told me you got the good lights. I would have shaved.
I do. I have to have the good lights, baby. Haven't you noticed? I've been doing the good lights.
Would have shaved. Look myself pretty.
I've been doing the good lights. My husband and I are coming on to really chat. If you've been noticing and following me on Facebook, I have been sharing all of our Red Table Talks. I haven't shared that much of Black Love. I've done more of Black Love on Instagram, and I've actually followed in. And my husband was like, "We should go on Black Love," and I'm like,
"We should go on the next one, which is interracial."
I don't know if they're going to do interracial love. I mean, and so I felt that it was important just to have a conversation like we normally do about interracial or intercultural. And I've often shared that I believe my husband and I have an intercultural relationship, not necessarily interracial. Is race an issue? I don't think it's an issue, but we often discuss it because there's things that I experience that he does not experience. And I think having him not be from the US is another kind of way to help with him understanding why there is such an issue with race in the US. I have always been told what race I am. I think I shared that with my husband very early on. I've always been told that I'm Black, and it's by non-Black people that have often told me that, like I don't know. But when Rudy and I met, it wasn't about really interracial, would you say? Well, what's your take on it? Because he watches Red Table Talk, and we watch Black Love together, and we laugh, and we, can relate to a lot of the things on there. But what is your take on it, baby? Because people want to know.
Inquiring minds want to know.
Yes.
I think a lot of it has to do for me simply with the fact that I did not grow up in the US. So a lot of the traditions, a lot of the baggage that comes with a interracial relationship, I was very, very late to that. Had really, really nothing to do with that because growing up in Germany, is there racism? Of course there is, but it's not a color racism, if that makes any sense. Germany, the racism had more to do with different kinds of people. We have a lot of...
But baby, that's not race. That's prejudice.
Prejudices, and not the black and white thing, because where I grew up, it was all white. The only Black people that we ever saw were American soldiers, American GIs. So it was something out of the ordinary. You didn't have very close contact with them in the first place. So it was never a black and white thing. And especially the way I grew up, race never really mattered. It was more interesting to actually do different foods or experience different races and different stuff. So when I came here to the US in '90, I was really not, I don't want to say not aware of it, because of course you read and you watch TV and you see movies, but the firsthand experience was something that I totally lacked. My favorite story to illustrate that is that I was very early on working at a club, and there was a fight starting or disagreement starting, and a bunch of us working at the club and a bunch of the patrons got together, and there was, arguing. I'm right in the middle of it, until one of my boys literally took me aside and goes, "Rudy, you're not Black." And I'm looking at him like, "What are you talking about?" Before it dawned on me that everybody who was in this thing was Black. I'm the only white one in there. And it literally did not dawn on me that that had anything to do with anything. Thinking about it now, it's cute, but it literally had nothing, you understand what I'm saying? So for me, the whole thing is very, very foreign. So the whole concept that you have a prejudice against somebody because of their skin color is something that is like really down in my core, very, very foreign. That's why between us, there was never a question whatsoever. The thing with us is that we come from different cultures. So we experience different things, or we do different things, and we come from different traditions. And that's where we, I wouldn't even say clash, but that's where we have to kind of figure out how to gel and have to figure out stuff together. We do sometimes experience prejudice against us as a couple, or see it against you. And it still sometimes takes me a step. I still have to do a step to recognize
you're not on it, baby.
Sometimes I'm on it, but sometimes I'm not, because it's still such a, you know.
And he's being very honest. I mean, I've looked at him and given, now we kind of have a look. I would say I have a look that I have to give to Rudy, because I'm like,
yeah. I mean, and
then he'll go like, oh.
Yeah, no, I get better at it.
You're better at it. But in the beginning, he wasn't very good at it at all.
It's just not, because it's so foreign to me into thinking that that I don't, that in my personal experience, it's not there.
And I think that that's something that's very valid when you start having these conversations about race, about culture, about ethnicity. You know, there has to be a level of respect that comes from it. I mean, I very much respect his German background. I'm very interested, even though he's not taking me to Germany. I'm very interested
about. They're not ready for you yet.
They're not ready for me, but I'm very interested in, you know, just how he grew up. It's very different than how I grew up. You know, his experiences are very different, and I think for me, it's more of, I'm interested in the cultural side. Is he white? Yes. I think for me, my very first experience with racism based off of Rudy was when we were on the cruise, and this bartender who happened to be, where was he? He's from the island, so he was Jamaican or something like that, would not serve him because we were together. Like, that was my first experience of ever seeing someone be prejudiced to him. And you know, if you've ever met my husband and you've ever seen him, he's not a small man. So
he was giving me the stink eye.
He was like giving him the stink eye. He wouldn't serve him any drinks, and
what's going on?
And he was nice to me, of course. I think part of it, he wanted me. But, you know, I've never experienced it. Like, it was very odd. It took me back a little bit. Like, why are you being mean to him? I mean, he didn't do anything. And it dawned on us, because sometimes we laugh. Sometimes I'm very irritated by it. But I think as we're together longer, I laugh at it like, what is the problem? I mean, I don't quite understand it. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm going to go on the flip side of this, because I think a lot of people will, and I don't want DMs. I don't want people to send me messages about their opinion, to be honest. I have to put it out there. That I'm not against someone who is in a same race relationship. Like, my first husband is Black. Obviously, you know, my daughter she's a chocolate baby. So obviously her dad is Black, and we were married. So I'm not speaking out against anything of what other people do. I'm speaking from experiences that I have with my husband. And I'm speaking on experiences that I have that kind of led me to this place. I think had I not been raised in an area where I was really only one of 5 Black people in my high school, I probably would have not understood how to prepare myself for the things that I get told, or kind of like the snide remarks that I get in general from both non-Black people and Black people. So I've had prejudices against me from every race, including my own. So I think had I not had those experiences growing up, it definitely would have not shaped me to look and speak and say the things that I have. I think what's helped me is actually traveling outside of the United States to realize that people outside of the US don't look at me as a Black person. They look at me more as a woman. I think I'm prejudiced more as a woman than I am as a Black woman. And that was definitely evident when I went to Australia. It was definitely evident when I went to Bangkok in Thailand. It wasn't because I was Black, it was because I was a woman. I mean, and I think that's, for me, was very eye-opening, because race had nothing to do with it. It was just the fact that I'm a woman that I was being prejudiced against. So I've had some life experiences that have really shaped some of my ideas and my thoughts. And then upon marrying Rudy, it became very interesting, because our dynamic is very different. I mean, we've experienced racism because people think that for some reason I'm a hooker, and I don't know why I am the hooker. I mean, I think the last time that we got prejudiced against or had prejudice thrown at us, I finally just said, I'm like, he's the one that's the hooker. I hired him for the night. I mean, I finally just had to say that and laugh, because the people that were like, they weren't blatantly saying that I was hooker. It was a kind of underlying thing. Basically, when we go to a hotel. We went to a hotel. Where were we at? We were in Atlanta, but we also experienced it here. When we were in Atlanta for the Atlanta show, the guy, Rudy, being the gentleman that he is, went to check us in. I mean, what husband doesn't go to check us in? I was probably on my phone working. Yes, you were. Anyway, whatever. And so the guy looked at me and was like, well, where is she going to stay? And I was like, what? With him? Oh Lord, my phone's going off. Sorry, guys.
Or is she gonna go on, on the same bill? That they wanted to do separate bills, and I'm like, why would my wife not be on a separate bill?
And he's like, yeah, where is she gonna stay? And I'm like, with him. What do you mean? And so here's kind of the icing on the cake, is when we went up to the room, the guy put us in 2 queen beds. Like, he literally, I don't know what he thought. He thought I was a hooker. And then I had to, like, I tried to let Rudy do it, but then I took it, and I just kind of went 50-150 on him and just told him, I said, this platinum card is my name with my CEO at the end. I own the company. That is what he checked in with. He is the hooker.
I'm the eye candy. I'm just having to.
Right. He's the one. He's the gigolo. Dang. No, I didn't say that, but it became a big thing. I actually made it be a big thing. It's one of a very nice restaurant, a very nice hotel. I actually was able to speak to the vice president and just say, you need to have some kind of conversation with your staff when it comes to assuming. I understand you probably see all kinds of people that come into here, but I'm not a prostitute, and I can stay in the same room as my husband. I know this is the South, but we are in 2017, and I don't need to be in a separate room. But this is very disheartening that a hotel of your quality and your caliber is definitely having blatant racism without even asking any questions. And I don't really say, and I told him, I said, here's the thing, I can go onto social media right now and blast you, like literally blast you right now. And they were like, no, please don't, whatever we need to do, we can give you, I think they gave us 20 or 30,000, hotel points. They gave us all this points saying, please don't go onto social media because that is not how we feel. I said, however, how you feel is who you hire. So, and you basically hired people who have very ignorant point of views and don't ask the right questions.
Antiquated.
And you could have just asked. I mean, we were very clear. No, we don't have the same last name. But when he said with my wife and looked at me, that took the hooker part out of the whole equation. But I mean, I think part of it is too, is that Rudy and I have been very fortunate to really just have a level of maturity to where we're honest about this day and age that we live in. As sad as it may be, that people really just, the ignorance is definitely out. I mean, you just don't understand. And ignorance means lack of understanding or lack of knowledge. And people just don't want to know. And that's really what it comes down to. I mean, Rudy and I have lots of conversations about this specific topic, because I do think that, with our daughter, it's been very interesting because she is very much more accepting of every race. Her school is primarily Middle Eastern based. And she really, it's interesting. So for Celine, I think it's definitely interesting because her upbringing is definitely different than my upbringing. It was very, very blatant racism constantly. And it's unfortunate, but it was. There is nothing, I can't say anything around it. It just was.
which is also the way we want it to be. We want the next generation to be
absolutely,
and the generation after that even more looking at
understanding
the
yes.
previous generation and just in disbelief and going, wait, what? You right. guys didn't like somebody because what? Right. You know, you just kind of, you know, and we can see it with Celine, and we can see it that hopefully all of these things, these really, really silly things die out with every coming generation, and it's just going to get, you know, better, and you value a person for who they are and not, you know, what their skin looked like. And
that's the thing. I think for us, it's been very, I wouldn't even say difficult. I think Rudy's at a level, well, he's very dominating, if you don't know already. So most people, it doesn't matter what race they are, just look at him first, time to figure out, you know, what are you, because you have an accent, where are you from? And then they look at me, and you already know me, I'm wild. So, you know, our whole dynamic is definitely unique. But I think the other part of it too is that we have, you know, it's an understanding of that we are different. We were raised different. We look different. But even when I look at him, I tell him, I say, I don't look at you as white. I look at you as Rudy, you know, and it depends. Are you getting on my nerves? Are you, you know, making me happy? Are you irritating me? I mean, I'm not looking at him as race. But I'm definitely open with sharing experiences that I've had so that he's a little bit more empathetic. And I think that's kind of where I have become better at. I'm not upset, if that makes sense. I'm not lashing out at anger. I sit down and truly explain to him the reason why, you know, the Thanksgiving song is the Thanksgiving song is because everybody eats the same thing, especially in Black families. We eat greens, beans, potatoes, tomatoes, lamb, pork, greens, beans, tomatoes, chicken. So Celine and I are running around dancing in that song, and Rudy is just like, but I'm like, it's a Black family.
Yeah, but again, it's a cultural thing, though.
Absolutely cultural.
So that's why I'm saying, you know, that's interesting and eye-opening, and because you just come from such different worlds when you really get down to it. And that makes it fun also, but you got to be open-minded. That's one of those things. You've really got to be open-minded, because, you know, when you guys do stuff half the time, I'm like, what? And then you got to think, what? Why would you? That makes no sense. Okay.
And then I've been like, hey, we're in the US. We're not in Germany. Okay. This is how it goes. Especially with you know, I think with our child, it's been very like, that's where we go at it. Because Rudy knows I am Mama Bear. You do anything wrong, I'm coming, and it's hard. I'm like, you don't win over. And so my whole thing with baby, I'm always like, is that the card that you want to play right now? Because you're not going to like the card that I play.
Even if I'm right.
Even if you're right, you're not going to like the card that I'm going to play. Okay. And so with Celine, and as you guys probably already know, I'm always bragging about what a phenomenal athlete she is. Rudy voices his very opinionated self, because when he grew up, athletics were not a part of your education at all.
Well, they're part of it, but they're not as dominant as it is in the US. There's no school teams. There's no school sports. If you excel in sports, it has nothing to do with school. You would do that in something that's outside of school. So school education is very, very separated from sports. So in Germany, you never would ever find the culture that an athlete gets pushed through the system because of their athletic abilities. That's just, it doesn't exist. Because again, sports are not affiliated with a school. We have, if I remember that correctly, you have 2 hours of physical education a week. So, you know, you play sports and do stuff in a gym for 2 hours at school, but that's it. So for me, school comes first. And
school comes first, but athletics are important. So he doesn't understand not only the financial commitment that we have to to her dance. He doesn't understand the time spent, because she spends the same amount of time dancing that she does in school, just about. I mean, she's at least 25 hours a week dancing, minimum. That doesn't include when we go to conventions or whatever. So,
and we spend more on that child a month than on anything else.
Not anything. But so, you know, that's a point of contention, because he was raised that athletics were okay, but it wasn't a part. I was raised in an athletic family. You know, my college was paid with my scholarship, but I played basketball in college. I played basketball all through my junior and high school years. You know, her dad is a professional athlete. So, you know, he still is doing what he does. But, you know, it's hard for me to explain to him when he's so upset that this is what it's going to be, you know. And if her grades fall, she doesn't do it. Now we're going to try to help her get there to make sure her grades don't fall. But, you know, that it is. And that has nothing to do with race. That's just, you know, that's is. Americans. That is Americans. That is proud Americans. We love our sports, and we do whatever we can do so that athlete will be phenomenal.
I mean, I come around to it somewhat, but for me, it's still, I know how fleeting athletic endeavors are, what the chances are that somebody actually makes it. And, you know, so for me, the athletics, it's okay and you can push it and stuff, but the education is an important part.
Education is important. Education is important. But no, I think that we really, I think we just have the unique opportunity to kind of share our experiences and share both of our backgrounds, because I do think that, you know, a lot of the racial tension right now is because we just are not educated. We don't want to know someone's experience. We want to just be dismissive of experiences. And it's hard to, you know, look at things that are happening on a daily basis with, you know, police brutality and injustices in courts, and not go back and just say, why is it that we're not empathetic? Why don't we understand that not everyone that looks like us lives like us? Why don't we understand that, you know, someone else's experience may have led them to this point? Why do we have such a big difference of, you know, ethnic and non-ethnic, or I shouldn't say ethnic and non-ethnic, white, black? I mean, and the sad thing that I say all the time, and Rudy and I talk about this all the time too, is that, you know, the African-American race is one of the smallest races in the US. It really is. If you look at it, you have, you know, Hispanic, you have Asian, you have all, you know, different ethnicities. We are very small. However, we are very dominant when it comes to injustices, because we have such a small amount. And it is sad. It's truly, truly sad. It's very frustrating. I have family members that have been and still are in prison falsely accused, you know, so I understand how it works. I understand how things are unfair. I think the more we have conversations about it, the more we have experiences about it, the more we're able to actually just be empathetic. Can you understand the words that I'm telling you from my experiences? Can I understand what he's telling me from his experiences? I may not, you know what it feels like. I may not ever say, you know, well, that's not true. I have to be empathetic. And I think that's where, for me, and even with my husband being indoctrinated into my family, we have a lot of dynamics. You know, we have a lot of extreme dynamics. We have, you know, some very underlying issues, and then we have some issues that are just cultural. And I think it's the empathy that I love about him, because he truly listens before he speaks. It's not coming off of to be snarky or smart or make a joke, even though he does do a lot of the dad-like jokes. It's more of whatever. Yeah. It's more of him just trying to be empathetic. And I try to be empathetic as well, you know, and Rudy knows, you know, there's a lot of stuff I don't do. I'm not a big news watcher. I think the news is one of the most depressing things that are on TV right now. There's nothing positive about the news. The news is there to bait people. It's there to, you know, strike emotion. So I don't watch it. I'm a big, you know, truth teller. And I tell him, I said, you know, the last couple of things that have been coming up in the news, I have said that, you know, it's very, very interesting to look at politics and not make them very plain. And Rudy and I were talking about, what was the judge that went on and acted crazy on TV and they still made him a judge? Kavanaugh. And I told him, I said, Kavanaugh's going to be in. I mean, let's just be honest. He's going to be in. He just is. And Rudy said, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. This is how it works. You know, and I even tell people, and I told him, I said, let's break down that whole scenario. Kavanaugh wanted that woman to see his penis, and she didn't want to. And so he got mad and made her. That's it. At the end of the day, it's about, I think that's truly it. Didn't I say that? Yes. And isn't that true?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I think a lot of stuff, you can distill it to something, I think, very, very simple, that is a problem here in the US, in a lot of places, that races do not live together. They do not coexist. People live next to each other. There's a lot of, I don't want to say segregation because that's maybe too strong of a word.
Wait. You're saying that racist people don't live?
No, racists don't live together enough. Because people, well, you don't understand, what I mean is you don't understand somebody else unless you live
in the same house.
Doesn't have to be in the same house, in the same community, next to them.
I'm gonna argue with you on that.
Okay, next to them, with them in the same environment.
No.
How else are you gonna figure out?
Baby, my whole upbringing, racists were on the streets. They were in the neighborhood. They chased us home. They called us names. They lived next door.
Yes, and the more and the only way to combat that is to have more diverse people live together.
I don't. You have to be open to do that. The whole point of being racist is because it's what you were raised in.
Exactly.
That's how they were raised.
And the more people live together, the more this gets bred out by generation down the line. That's what I'm coming at. So if you only have white people living with white people and their only experience is what they see is on TV, or they maybe have 2 black people in the neighborhood, or everybody has a black friend. We know how that goes. The only way to do this is if you live, because all those prejudices, all of this stuff goes away if you have people in your circle.
No, because people lie. They live double lives. Here, okay, when we watched Red Table Talk, the one that just came on, it was evident about what Jane had said about that we're all cousins, right? Oh, you didn't watch that one, did you? No. Oh, we got to watch that one. Okay, so it was truly interesting because we think that, you know, living together, racism for me happened in my neighborhood. It happened from my neighbors. It wasn't from random people. And I barely get racism from random people. It's very rare. It's rare that someone looks at me and just thinks I'm black and has an assumption, but the spewing and the saying and the talking and the disrespect came from people that I knew. It wasn't from strangers. It was the kids at school. It was the people in colleges, people I worked with. It was people who knew me.
But that's ignorance. That is absolutely
I never said it wasn't ignorance,
but the only way to combat that and the only way to get out of that or get rid of that is to, for you know, generations and generation, mingle and be together and breed that out.
I agree to you with that. I also have to say that it's taught.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I mean, nobody is born a racist. This is taught, and I think a lot of we can go into politics and how, you know, the current administration has opened the lid.
He's not opened the lid. I would say it's always been there. He's just allowed people to be more bold and say it.
Opened the lid to be more public about it. But the reality is that if you look at numbers, that the population is browning. I think that's the word. Because there's more commingling numbers. Yes. And that's what I'm saying. Generations. Celine's generation is looking at this totally different. Her children are going to be even more aghast at what happened with our generation, and then the one after that. And that's what you need to strive for.
True.
But again, the only way to do this is if you, experience this.
Right.
Because otherwise, how do you know? Otherwise, the only information you get is from TV.
Right. Which I keep
or
saying.
Or that one black person that you came in touch with, and that person might have been an idiot, and that just skewers your whole outlook.
No, I mean, I think what you're saying and what you're meaning is right. I just have different experience.
Oh yeah. Oh no. I don't. Absolutely. I'm not saying that you don't have these experiences, and that's the bad part, that you get experience from people that you know and that should know better. But that's the crux of it. This stuff is learned. This stuff is taught, and the way it's going, the arch of history, the way it's going, it's getting less and less and less. The problem is that the people who are hanging on to that racism, hanging on to that, yes, they're getting louder and more desperate and more militant about it.
I think it's always been there, baby.
Oh, I'm not saying that it's not been there. Now, of course, we can also put in
technology that
put in social media, right, and all stuff that is now even more
right,
accessible, and everybody can see it.
Right.
I'm just hoping, and the way I'm seeing for the big picture, that it's going to go away.
Eventually,
until then, it's going to. Sadly, I think it's going to get worse, because everybody who has these beliefs think they're coming for him, and something's been taken away, so they want to lash out even more. And I think that's what we're seeing. A lot of it we're seeing now. We
are seeing a lot of it now. I think a lot of it is also fear. I mean, it's fear of not knowing. It's fear and ignorance, to be honest. And my ignorance has been my word for the entire year, because I think just the lack of understanding and the lack of wanting to understand has led people to have opinions and say things from just not being informed or being educated on, but I think that it's something that's been, and I don't even think it's something that we have really discussed or I have wanted to bring it forward, but I know that in the climate, there's been a lot of things that have changed on social media, and what people focus on and all of those things. It doesn't change the fact that we're all humans. We're all really truly one race. We have men and women, and that's it. We do have different skin tones, but I have different experiences culturally, but that doesn't mean that I'm any different. I bleed, pee, and poop, cry, just like everybody else. I mean, I think that's where I come, and I go very basic, and I say it all the time. Everybody pees and poops. Your poop is brown too. My poop is brown. My pee is yellow. Your pee is yellow. I mean, I don't quite get that, but whatever. Anyway, it's been a while since we came on. We thought we would come on and just, have this interesting conversation. I'm always trying to get Rudy to be around the camera. And we're trying to
put it down, bring it down to our experience and the way we see it. And right. I mean, luckily we haven't had anybody going full on hog wild on us, which I don't think would ever happen, because the minute somebody disrespects, my women, then that's not a good thing to go for. But it is the other way. It's funny sometimes how people react to us. That's one of the things I think we enjoy too, that when we go anywhere, we go shopping or something, we hold hands, or we're all lovey-dovey and or we're affectionate in public,
and people
just you see people, they don't know what to do with that.
They don't,
which is hilarious.
I love it though. I think it's cute. I think it's I don't know. It's our normal.
Yeah, which is on the lighter side of the racism, which is on the side where people that are somewhat enlightened, but they still don't know how to react to that. They don't know what to do with that. That's not their norm, or that's not how they grew up. So it's just kind of foreign and strange. And it has a lot to do also, of course, where you're at in the country.
Right. Now that's a big one.
But yeah, I think those are the things that sometimes, we see that, or she notices more than I do.
Because women and men, they both hit on Rudy all the time. And Rudy, it just passes over his head. He doesn't even pay attention to it. And I'm always like, did you see that heifer? She was trying to be all up on you. She wanted you. And he's like, what woman? What? Who wanted me? The one that was talking to you when I was ordering, but she was looking in your eyeballs and I'm ordering.
Or when we're at the store and you go down some aisle and somebody goes after, then I come up and kiss you and hold your hand, and then just the face just falls.
He loves doing that, especially when there's like a guy trying to figure out if I'm single or not. There comes Rudy out of nowhere. I'm just like, why did you pee all over me? That was such a super masculine thing to do. Just come over and just, why are you peeing all over me? Can I just stand here and be pretty and let somebody think I'm gorgeous? Nope, there comes my husband. That's mine. Jeez. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and sign off. It's been lovely. We'll come back again and have this conversation again. Okay? All right, guys, have a great day. Bye.